Hopefully you've had a great week up until now.
Actually, yes, I did.
Sound like you had to think about it.
Yeah, I did, because there were other things that happened before that.
Gotcha. Okay. It's funny that they all seem to work themselves out, though, huh?
Yeah. One way or another.
One way or the other. That's true. Not always to our liking, but it does work itself out.
Yes. We have to just let go of things. They'll work themselves out.
It's easier said than done, though. You know, I kind of let go of something, then I grab it back 5 minutes later, then I let it go, and I grab it back, and I let it go, and then I grab it back. So.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Hey, we're not here as examples, because we have the same problems they're facing. It's just the only difference that we have is that we usually get back a little quicker.
That's true, and I think that you often say it, but I think because we're aware. You know, I think many times with many folks, because they're not aware.
Well, we all start off on generally negative attitudes, and that has to be swept away. But you do it one by one. It's not a whole house cleaning in a day, you know. It's just room by room, so to speak.
You make me think about Jesus' parable about sweeping the house clean. Like you said, room by room. And it's true, some of those rooms are easier to clean than others. I know for myself, sometimes I want to go back to the room that was easiest and stay there, you know, as opposed to going and dealing with the hard room that I know that I've got this stuff accumulated in and I know that it needs to go. I'm just not ready to let go of that stuff in that particular room.
My wife calls my office a cave. Just do the rest of it. I'll take care of this one.
That's kind of how I am about my office as well. You know, it's just you got things, you know where they're at.
Come in and move something. Anything, just move it. That's it. It starts an avalanche of looking.
It does, and it really throws off your equilibrium. I mean, people don't understand it, but even in my chaos, there's order.
That's it. That is it. I know where everything is. Till I do one of those cleanup jobs, and then I have to find out where everything is again. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, Linda, you stated that you had received a couple of calls, so we kind of want to touch on this because this is a question that I know that many people have. How did you get started in this? How does one begin where they're at and get started?
Well, that was the question I got from both phone calls. The same question.
I'm sorry. Where did these calls come from?
One was from Australia and the other one was from the Virgin Islands.
Isn't that amazing that two calls from totally two different sides of the world, two people were asking the exact same question?
And one right after the other.
Amazing.
I hung one up and I just got out of the chair and it rang again. I picked it up and she asked me the same question. And it just kind of blew me away. But that's the question. I know that when I first started seeking, I wasn't aware that I really wanted seeking to be difficult, confusing. Because if it was, then I had an excuse. I could excuse myself. I could claim limited education or lazy-mindedness, and it was not education. It was not about being smart. It was not about being brilliant, although you actually are. You may not have touched upon it yet, but I wanted it to be difficult because then I had an excuse. I could continue my lazy-mindedness and just going along with what's going on. And I say, look around how everyone is attacked by one thing or another. Why would I be different? How could I be special and not be affected? We're all special because literally we're all one with the power.
Absolutely. So the message for each individual is to start there and realize that we are, in fact, all one with the power known as God.
That's it. That's it. And if they'll just pick it up from there and carry through? Because, you know, you do know you're alive. And because that one power is not divided, one is not separated from anyone. This may sound very difficult, and that doesn't actually explain much of the drama, man, but actually it makes very clear in one statement, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Aren't we told? Choose this day, the story, the secret.
We are.
But are you aware? Our suggestion is just simply more aware is better. Better everything. And the wonderful thing about this is you can check this out for yourself. First person. Do so. The message is very quite simple. We receive not because we ask not, or that we're asking amiss. And it's that asking amiss you want to check on. Think about it.
As you're speaking, the thing that came to mind for me was the story of the parable of the talents. And we would be remiss to believe that every person has a talent, a gift. I'm being modest for the person that says, well, I don't have any gifts, so I'm being modest for that person. But you're right, we have several, and some of them undiscovered as of yet.
Some of them that are using every day, you just don't recognize them as being special.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's what people do. They use all of these powers every day, and it is the power. All of it is. So whatever you're doing in, through, and of the power, not a little power, not some power, the power.
I like to say that the power is from us, in us, as us, through us, and the hope in us.
Yes, that's why.
It's all of it. It's all of it. And you and I both know that God is no respecter of person, but each person must understand and know that they have a say, and that they have a valid say, and that they're about saying their valid say. I think that many people struggle because, let's say they listen to you, they listen to a Neville, they listen to a Dr. Murphy. You know, they'll listen to these great orators, as it were, and they'll say, well, there's no way in the world that I can speak like that. But that's not what God's calling you to do. He's not calling you to be Lindo, Neville, Dr. Murphy. He's not asking you to be those people. He's asking you to be your own unique voice. Now, what I've learned from you and just listening to you, your message is similar to Neville's, but it's not. Neville's message was similar to Blake's, but it wasn't.
We all differ in, because God doesn't make any duplicates.
Absolutely.
See, so you're different. You're expected to be different.
Absolutely.
That's what you're here for. You're here to experience life and being different. Not looked at that way. We all have to conform to so much that we lose ourselves.
Absolutely.
Look at a child's face. You've lost that expression. I mean, you've lost it. And you got all caught up in things going on around you. Be still. That's where the magic is. In the stillness. I am with you always. Look for me. I'm waiting for you. He makes it very clear, but boy, it just zips right over, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It does. It does. You can hear it so often that we almost become deaf to it. And so you're right.
That's it. But you see, the first time you hear it or second time you hear it, it charges you up. But why not later? Why not? Why not? Why doesn't it charge you up every time you hear it? Because you got used to it, that's all. That's the same thing that happens with addicts. That's why they become addicts, because the little bit is not enough, and by the time they got enough, they're hooked. Truth.
What would you suggest for the person that's become accustomed to hearing his or her own voice and not hearing the power or the uniqueness in it?
Well, then listen to someone else. Find someone who has a principle you can live with. and then live with it. That's it. Change your mind, change your world. That's what we're told to do. If changing your mind changes your world, and it does, the first does the second. Change your mind, changes your world. You're not given to do anything but to experience. And if you don't like the experience, you're told, choose this day. Well, if you chose and it still isn't working out, well, choose this. Every day is the choice. Just quit dragging all the nonsense in with you in today. Start anew. Every day, start anew. That's what you're supposed to do. Do it and see what happens.
You said something about experience, and something welled up into my spirit the second you said that, and it was this, that Lindo's about sharing his experience. DeCarlo is about sharing his experience. Whoever you are, listener, what you're about is sharing your experience. That's your uniqueness. I think the problem is many of us, we try to emulate somebody else. Everybody listens to the person and they say, well, that just sounds like Lindo. I mean, if I want to listen to Lindo, I'll go to Lindo. If I want to listen to Neville, I'll go to listen to Neville. If I want to listen to Joseph Murphy or DeCarlo or whomever, I'll just go. I don't want somebody that sounds like them. What we discover, let's say in Hollywood, for example, the person that comes out with the unique voice, they become the rave. Everybody's talking about, man, have you heard this new artist? There's a girl out there now, and she's a extremely heavy-set girl. And she flaunts herself, and she loves herself the way that she is. The media has fallen in love with her. Creators, why I bring her up, and many of you know her name, but the reason why I bring her up is that when you fall in love with yourself and you begin telling your message, your experience, there's going to be a group of people that are going to be attracted to you. It's just a byproduct of how things work. And the funny thing is, what makes us exceptional is that we're willing to share our voice. See, most of the world won't do that. Most people will rather die than speak in public. So what Neville did, matter of fact, Neville was criticized by one of his teachers, his speech teacher, when he first came to the United States. He took a class on speaking, and the lady said, you'll never earn no money with your voice. He made a lifestyle out of it. Yeah. Many of us have a fear of speaking. But if you remain silent, God in you cannot express himself. And that's what God wants to do through each and every one of us, through our own uniqueness, is speak through us.
Yeah, you have to speak it. You have to. You will. I mean, there comes a time when you have to deal with your own inner conversations. And when you start dealing with them, you'll be seeing where you're leading you, because you definitely are leading you by your inner conversations. That self-talk isn't looked upon. It'll destroy you. I mean, face it. Just listen to your own self-talk for a while, and just see how much of it's negative and how much of it's positive. I mean, that seems like a simple solution, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, just really look at what you're thinking in your mind, because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, so does he, so has he, on and on throughout the stories of Scripture. I mean, I know, I'm just picking out the good parts, they tell me. That's what I'm told. Think only on things that are lovely and of good report. Isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was a person, Victory, out there, and Victory and I were communicating by way of YouTube, and Victory PM was talking about somebody else had put out there being in frequency, and Victory corrected him and said, no, it's being in state. And what I told Victory is that we're really speaking semantics. But Victory had a point. We have to get into the state who it is that we want to become, if we want to become speakers. And a lot of times what I'll do is clothe myself in a Lindo, a Neville, an Abraham, a Jesus. And what I mean by clothing myself, I put on the mindset of that person. I put on what I know about the thoughts of Jesus if those thoughts are loving.